camped out on the plains at the head of the Cimarron. Along come a stranger and stopped to augur some. He looked so very foolish we began to look around, for we thought he was a greenhorn just escaped from town. We asked if he had had breakfast and he hadn't had a smear. We opened up the chuck box and bade him have his share. He took a cup of coffee, some biscuits and some beans, and then began to talk about some foreign kings and queens, about the Spanish wars and a fighting on the seas, with guns as big as steers and ramrods big as trees, about Paul Jones, a fighting son of a gun. 'Twas the grittiest cuss boys that ever pulled a gun. When the dude had finished eating and he put his plate away, he rolled a cigarette, then he asked the time of day. He talked about the weather, the election and such things, but he didn't seem to know a lick about working on the range. Such an educated feller, his talk just came in herds, astonished all them boys with his jaw-breaking words. He just kept on a-talking till he made the boys all sick. They began to look around just how to play a trick. Well, he said he lost a job up on the Santa Fe, riding across the plains to strike the 7 Ds. He didn't say how come it, some trouble with the boss. He said he'd like to borrow a nice fat saddle horse. Well, this tickled all the boys to death, they laughed down in their sleeves. You can have a horse just as fat and nice as you please. Shorty grabbed a lariat and he roped the zebra done. He turned him to the stranger and we waited for the fun. But Dunny was an outlaw that grown so awful wild, he could paw the moon every jump for a mile. He stood right still as if he didn't know, until he was saddled and ready for the go. When the stranger hit the saddle, old Dunny quit the earth, heading right straight up for all that he was worth. A pitching and a squealing and a having walleye fits, his hind feet perpendicular, his front one at the bits. Well, you could see the mountains under Dunny every jump. The stranger stayed upon him just like a camel's hump. The stranger stayed upon him and curled his black mustache, just like a summer boarder a-waiting for his hash. Ooh, Lord, he thumbed him in the shoulders and he spurred him when he whirled. He showed us flunky punchers he was the wolf of the world, and when he was dismounted once more upon the ground, we knowed he was a thoroughbred and not a gent from town. The boss who'd been a-standing there a-watching all the show walked up to the stranger and said, you needn't go. If you can throw a rope like you rode the zebra done, well, you're the man I've looked for since the year of one. He could handle a rope, boys, he didn't do her slow, and when the cow stampeded, he was always on the go. There's one thing sure I've learned since I've been born, every educated feller ain't a plum greenhorn.